Honoring a Titan. Judge Damon Keith's impact on our country and our community will never be forgotten. But tonight, we're getting unique insight into what drove this legendary Detroiter to fight for what's right. Today, the United States Senate passed a resolution honoring the life and work of Judge Keith.
A high honor for a deserving man. And tonight, a person who knew Judge Keith better than really most talked with our own Kimberly Gill. And Kim, he really does have so many great stories.
He really does. He has a lot of stories. Unfortunately, we can't share them all with you here. But Elliott Hall's friendship with Judge Damon Keith goes back some 60-odd years. They went to the same church, and the pastor at that time preached to the young people about making the most of their lives. And Hall says it was that foundation combined with a strong family, particularly Keith's father, that was the basis of the judge's good work and courage.
We are a working class neighborhood. I mean, Damon's father worked at Ford, my dad worked at Ford.
Back in the late 40s, early 50s, thanks to the auto industry, all you needed was a high school education to get a decent job in Detroit. But a young Damon Keith wanted more than that. His longtime friend Elliott Hall told me how the pastor at their church back then, Tabernacle Baptist, preached to the young people to do better.
And he was shaping our lives through making us understand that we could do a lot better in terms of our approach to our future.
Keith would go on to college in West Virginia and then on to Howard University Law School, where he was surrounded by the likes of Charles Hamilton Houston and Thurgood Marshall, men who were the architects of Brown versus Board of Education and other cases that ended segregation.
It was pounded in him that you have to make a difference. When you graduate from the Howard Law School, wherever you go in the country, your task is to free or contribute to the freedom of black folks. Voting rights, civil rights, and all the other issues that had the impact, because it was a very segregated country at the time. Damon graduated from the Howard Law School and came back to practice law in the city of Detroit.
A city where at first he couldn't even rent an office downtown because of the color of his skin.
All the black lawyers who were practicing, 90% of them were in the Tobin building, the only building on the edge of downtown Detroit that would permit black lawyers to rent and have an office.
But those challenges would only drive Keith to work harder to make a difference. He became very active in the community, doing work with the NAACP and Urban League. It was that work that raised his popularity. He became known as not just a good lawyer, but a man of the people, eventually being appointed judge to federal district court.
Then he gets on the court and does things on the bench that were inconceivable. I've practiced before many judges in my 54 years as a lawyer. Judges need to have good temperament, respect for the litigants that appear before them, and a good understanding of the law. Damon had a unique ability, no whether you won or lost before him, if he granted whatever you wanted to do or denied it, you felt that you had a fair chance.
That's quite the compliment, and certainly a life well lived by a man who will go down in history as one of the greatest legal minds in the country and of all times. And he had so many of those great stories, including how young lawyers would want to work for Judge Keith because of his, demeanor and just what he stood for. And just a loss for the community and the nation.
So many landmark decisions he was involved in, too.
Yeah.
And there's much more ahead on our coverage.
That's right. We want you to join us as we remember Judge Damon Keith. It begins Sunday night right after Local 4 News at 11. We have a special broadcast where Devin and I will look at Keith's impact, which goes far beyond his rulings from the bench.
We'll look forward to that, Kim. Plus, Monday morning, we'll bring you his funeral live on clickondetroit.com. Our coverage of that begins at 10.